Welcome, everyone, to the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends. My name is Scott Schweitzer. I'm the Clydesdale. Amy Radowski is my co-host.
Hello.
We have a special friend, Carolyne Prevost, here, and we love to do fitness, and that's why we call it Clydesdale Fitness and Friends. So, Carolyne, you are going back to the games for the third time?
Yep, third time in Madison.
Third time. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It was the youngster showed up in Montreal. And how did it feel to be the veteran?
I never felt older than I have in competition. I feel like I was asked my age more than ever, and was referred as one of the older ones in the field, which was so weird because I still consider myself young. So I was competing against someone that would be a student of mine at school. So pretty cool.
That's crazy. So you teach high school. If people haven't seen other episodes we've done with you, you teach math, science, and phys ed.
Yep. So the last couple of years, it's been a lot more math and phys ed. So like this next year, I have 2 grade 10 math classes and then a fitness class. And then I also have a couple grade 9 classes also in math and phys ed.
So does your school, are you off during the summers or do you go year round?
So my last day is going to be Wednesday this week. And then essentially I'm off until the end of August. So it's good timing in terms of CrossFit season.
Sure.
It's pretty busy during the year. And then depending if I coach teams after school, like this year was the first year I didn't coach anything after school. I just kind of focused a little bit more on my training. But normally it can get very busy at different parts of the year with coaching after school. And then just like you're done work early, but you have a lot of work after work with corrections and lesson planning and stuff like that. So it can be long nights at times.
So Amy is a director of a preschool. So she's all about education.
Yes.
But she gets them as they're entering school. You get them as they're leaving high school and going on. Did I hear right that there's an affiliate in your school and you kind of run that?
Yeah, it's called CrossFit Gauge. And I got it affiliated. So essentially I was in a very, very small high school, or like maybe 2-3 years of teaching at first. And then we moved into a brand new high school. And then I was given a budget to fill up the fitness room. When they gave me the budget, I think they gave me a budget that was considering a lot of machines, which are more expensive. And I ended up basically building a CrossFit gym, which is a lot cheaper because functional equipment is just not as expensive to buy than, one machine that one person can use. And it's like $2,000. It was actually free to affiliate your high school gyms. As long as you're not charging students, anyone that has, equipment at school should be looking into affiliating their schools. So I got mine affiliated, and I've had kids over the years do the open. Now, obviously, when it's in March, it's a weird time because of March break or spring break, as you guys call it in the States. So some of it can be hard. So sometimes students will just do maybe 1 workout or 2 workouts, but they've participated in the open a few times. And yeah, it's just kind of been cool to see students train. I mean, I wouldn't really say that I do a lot of like CrossFit-ish, like intensity workouts with them, because they're more learning technique, and it's about the mechanics and just consistency of movement before adding the intensity. So I'm more worried about just their development and the introduction to just fitness versus the sport. So.
Do you ever get that student that's just like gung-ho and wants to do the whole open and will come in on break?
I have had in a couple of years, like a few students that like really wanted to get into it. But a lot of them they haven't gotten the experience that they should go necessarily all in. And I think I'm very patient with some of them and kind of molding them to take their time. So I don't think that they've really like dug into as like hard as some of the teenagers that we've seen, obviously, like really take it seriously and are training like multiple hours a day. I guess I'm a little bit more strict to kind of slow them down a little bit and really work on the development.
So
So
do
not,
your, let me
go
ask
ahead.
this real quick. I was going to ask, do your students follow like your season to see, how you're doing and celebrate that with you? Or are they just kind of like, oh, whatever?
I don't really talk about much of my like competitions or anything like that. They don't really see me train much at school or anything like that. Like I'll train at lunchtime or sometimes during my lesson prep time, but like no other student is inside there. So I wouldn't really say I talk much about like my fitness competitions or where I'm at. They'll notice more about what I'm doing through my Instagram. If like some of my students follow me on Instagram, so they'll know that if I'm away at a competition, and then they'll ask me
Okay.
how it was, and they'll follow along there. But I think a lot of them don't quite understand maybe how it works. They just see a fit teacher and they think I can do anything.
Yeah, right.
Are you more known as a hockey player or a CrossFitter in school?
Originally, I would say hockey. To be honest, they would say I'm the hockey player. Because I think they know me more as hockey, but I know that they know that I obviously compete in CrossFit. But I'd say probably equal.
Because you still play hockey, right?
Yep. So I didn't play as much as past season. We're still in the developments of our future league, which should be launched ideally next year in January, which January to about March, it should be pretty heavy in games at that point. And it'll be a professional league. Players will be paid. So that's exciting. So like in the past 2 or 3 years, it's been more showcases. Like you kind of will travel somewhere. A few teams meet up. They play, each team once for a little championship. And there's not as much it's not like a league where you're playing every weekend, like 2 games or something like that. So it'll get back to that kind of normal feeling next year.
I have so many places I want to jump to from that. But I want to kind of go into it this way, because I know that it means a lot to you to set an example that girls can become athletes post high school, college, that is something feasible. ESPN is doing this big celebration of Title IX and the 50 years of that, and how much female sports have changed during that 50 years. And I think it was like 1 in 23 women participated in sports before Title IX, and now it's like 1 in 3.
That's awesome.
And so I just wanted to get your take on that, because you were probably someone who benefited from Title IX by being able to play college hockey at Wisconsin.
Yeah, and even with that, we got to have certain, I guess, privileges at the university that other sports teams maybe didn't. In terms of like training table, like some of the meals that we had, we were treated basically like the men's football team, the men's hockey team, the men's basketball team, which was like our top 3 men's sports at the school. Like the women's basketball, women's hockey, and women's volleyball had essentially the same type of access as some of those big school or big sports at the school. So that's really cool. But yeah, it's been great to see Title IX come into play for a lot of schools. I've seen some women's hockey program over the years have lost their team, so that was sad, for other teams to go in. You never want to see any sports team, especially women's sports team, fold, even especially if they're doing well. So hopefully, Title IX will continue to be in play, and more women's teams, just get added to different programs, and there's more support, financially, to help keep those programs sustainable, and obviously more people in the seats to come and watch them. But yeah, it's exciting to see the women's sports and where it's heading. Obviously our hockey league is going to be heading in a really, big direction right now, and we're seeing the women's soccer in the States exploding, the WNBA exploding. Golf and tennis has always been very popular for women's sports. But in terms of team sports for women, it's starting to definitely blow up. So it's great to see where it's going.
How far do you think we are from it, like truly becoming a staple in our society?
I still think we're many years away. the growth of our game is huge, especially women's hockey. It's one of the fastest growing sports in the world. But we're, the NHL and stuff were developed, in the early 1900s, probably, if I were to guess. So we still have, many years ahead. And, a lot of those men's sports, they're able to focus only on their craft and, show up to whatever field or arena or whatever and just play. But women are still balancing a lot of other things, full-time jobs. If these women were given, a league or something where they could strictly focus on being a professional athlete, their sport would grow even at a faster rate than what it already is right now, just being given certain opportunities. So I think that we're still lagging behind just because of some of the support, and it just takes time, obviously, for different sports to grow. But just in terms of being able to compete at any sport and focus strictly on that, there's not many sports that have that right now still for women.
Well, and I think that's an important thing that you said there, because there's definitely a financial discrepancy in women's and professional sports. And how can they do that solely being a professional athlete when they have to, have the income for living?
Well, you look at the WNBA, they're making more money going overseas, and most of the women there are going, they're playing almost full year round because they have different seasons. They have their WNBA season, and then they go play overseas to make more money because they're not making it in other times of the year. So they're just juggling, trying to be a full-time athlete, and they're juggling different leagues even, which is just, guys can take a full off season, recover, and these women are playing all year round, putting their bodies at a higher risk of injury. It's just there's definitely a difference between male and female sports that we see.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I look at the women's soccer team here in the US that rode a wave and made a statement when they did, right? They said they were going to boycott unless there was equal pay for them to the men in US soccer. And they took a lot of flack for that, but that's something that has to be done. I look at Winter Olympics, and one of the most watched events is USA Canada women's hockey final.
Mm-hmm. It is the most watched event of the Winter Olympics because it's just such a great rivalry. And the USA women's team did the exact same thing as the USA women's soccer team did, in terms of they almost boycotted their world championship to demand higher pay and different benefits and stuff like that. They ended up getting what they wanted, ended up winning a world championship that year when they did that. And yeah, it just, you're starting to see people fighting for, for better support, and that's what's needed.
Yeah, it's a shame that it has to come to the demand like that. But they're blazing trails for the future, and hopefully that's breaking down walls for all young women to be able to do something in the future that they want. Because I know you told me that you made the decision to play hockey because you had a shot at making the Olympics, and it was something like after college or after high school. And a lot of sports for women don't even have that opportunity.
Yeah. Like as a female athlete, you dream about going to the Olympics. As a male athlete, you dream about playing in professional sports and making the money. And it's just a different dream for females. But I hope that with these professional leagues coming in, that, now girls are dreaming about playing professional in whatever sport that they're doing, and not only trying to make the Olympic team, because it's, a lot of female that they play at the Olympics, they make maybe a little bit of money from their government or their sport organization. And then, they get done the Olympics and it's 4 years away. Yeah. So they're kind of lost in their world a little bit, or they're going back to work and everything like that. So it's nice to see these professional leagues come in and support.
Well, and it seems like if, every 4 years, if you're training for every 4 years, and then it's just this 2-week period that you get to perform and show all your work for 4 years, versus if you could yearly be,
compensated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to now go back. You said your last day of school is soon. I couldn't remember the exact day.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Not that I've
And
counted or anything like that.
so how much of a relief is it to have that time going from then to the games instead of
Yeah.
cramming everything in?
Sorry, dogs are playing with their bones here. It's definitely a big relief. I just finished correcting my last math exams today, so all my report card comments are done. So it's just kind of like the stress is off your shoulders, and you can kind of just focus a little bit more on training. I get like for a lot of teachers, their summers, their relaxation time, they're going vacationing. For me, it's my opportunity to be a full-time athlete. For like that's what I can do now, and I get to have an even playing field with a lot of the girls that I compete against at this point in the season. So I'm looking forward to just kind of bumping up my training a little bit more in the next month, because I don't even get the 2 months because the games are obviously early August. So I mostly get 3 weeks to really push hard, especially because Atlas Games was one of the last ones. So you got, I took 4 days off fully, or 4 or 5 days fully off, and then began training again. But it's a quick turnaround versus if you're the first week and you're heading to the games, you can deload a little bit more, and kind of ramp up towards the games. But yeah, I think I had 6 weeks, 7 weeks maybe to the games when the Atlas Games are done. So it comes by really fast because you take a few days off and you're like, oh crap, it's in 6 weeks or it's in 5 weeks.
Yeah. If you were given the opportunity, would you do CrossFit full time, or do you love what you do during the day?
I think I need to be busy. Like I like my brain to be challenged. I don't think I would train much more, to be honest. If I was a full-time athlete, I think I would benefit more from, maybe having more recovery and having more access to like massage therapy and stuff like that. But in terms of training, I think there's only so much you want to do or can do or should do really in a day. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy just kind of getting my brain active and just thinking about other things and just really educating the youth. It's nice. I wouldn't want to just personally train full time. I think certain people definitely can do that, and I do enjoy. I enjoy that 2 months in the summer where I can just focus, but I do also like to teach.
So you like your mind to be busy, you like your body to be busy, but how do you decompress or like de-stress?
Probably my phone is just like my little escape, or hanging out with my dogs or Lex. That's just like my relaxation time. Like being with them.
Yesterday, I talked to Lex yesterday, right?
Yep.
It's all a blur now.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
And at the time you were cooking breakfast, and I was hoping that there was SmelloVision, but there was not. So what was on the menu for yesterday?
So normally I make breakfast, she'll make lunch, and we'll kind of alternate dinners depending on whenever she'll have meetings for work. Yesterday, probably just like a omelet wrap with some yogurt or something on the side. Nothing too fancy.
Yeah, she was selling it though. She was like, it smells so good.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
You just get used to it when you eat pretty similarly every day, I guess.
Yeah. Well, she just came, a week ago, she climbed the mountain that we put in our rig report, and she didn't get to eat a lot or sleep a lot before she went. So I think she's just in like,
she's excited. Oh yeah. Well, she didn't even get to deload. She went literally, we got back from the Atlas game. So we drove back to Toronto that night after all the podium stuff, all the drug testing. I couldn't pee for a while, so it kind of delayed our trip a little bit. Then we went back to Toronto and we were up at 4. So we got home probably around like 11:30 midnight, and we were up at 4:00 driving her to the airport so she could leave in her like 6:00 flight to California. She climbed the mountain, I think like the next day after that. So she didn't get a deload like at all. And then I had my deload, so I'm ready to go the following week. She didn't get her deload, but we just competed at a little local comp yesterday too. or 2 days ago.
Oh,
Yeah, I
fun.
wanted to talk about that as well. She talked about that being a way for you to get a little bit of intensity in your training because you work and you train. It allows you to like get 5 workouts in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so how much does that help you in this time leading up to the games?
Yeah, well, there's still a lot of times before the games, like there is, but there isn't. So I like having, it was just like a competition day. You just you go to a different intensity that you do normally in your gym. Um, we got to do like a heavy lift after a Metcon, which is just, your high heart rate, it's just game-like scenarios. You're kind of seeing a lot of training camps are doing these types of games prep and these simulation of different events. So it's just nice to have a little competition, but not much pressure in the competition. It's not a major one, and just get some workouts in. It's fun. And it's nice to do it with someone. It's always, partner workouts are fun.
That's my favorite. So do you normally train by yourself then, alone?
I did for years.
Okay.
Basically all of my CrossFit career. I had some training partners here and there. And then since Alexis has been here since last January, so 2021 in January, we've trained together in our PM session. So I'll try to do whatever I can at school. Sometimes I might have so my lunch hour is about an hour. And sometimes I have like guard duty where I need to go supervise kids for like 20 minutes. So like I'm literally running or speed walking in the hallways because we're not allowed to run to try to get to the weight room. I might try to get my endurance interval session done, something done, whether it's 1 lift, 2 lifts, whatever I can get done in that like 40, 50 minutes. Sometimes I might have 2 minutes to eat lunch, get back to my next class. Lex will train in the morning and then she'll work the rest of the day. And she gets her lunch break when I'm done school. So it just, the timing works out really well. So we'll do our Metcons together in the afternoon. We normally do our endurance work and weightlifting in the morning or whenever I can at school. It can be at lunchtime or during my lesson prep time. Because I would rather separate my training session into 2 blocks if I can, and then do some of my school work in the evening versus doing a big chunk in the evening.
Sure.
So let's go back to Atlas for a second. You had a really good performance. Your average finish was pretty good. You really only had 1 workout that wasn't a top 10.
That one was expected.
And so did you meet your expectations in that semifinal?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't feel like any of the workouts were necessarily like home runs. And I didn't necessarily feel that any of them were terrible. So I was just kind of going in. I was like, okay, I think I can do pretty consistent on most of these workouts without winning. And that was kind of my goal, was to just kind of fly under the radar the whole weekend and then execute very well. Like I knew the first 2 days were going to be better days for me. And the third day was going to be my worst day. So it was really important for me to get good event finishes in the first 4. I was disappointed with my miss of the 215 jerk. I was really, really close. I kind of just lost my footing and brought the barbell back a little bit too far. Because that would have brought me to a 4th place in that event, which could have had me a little bit less stress going into the Sunday. I would have been basically could, just do the workouts without too much stress. I knew the double under one on this Sunday was not good for me. I'm sure the fitness people that do your stats will see that every double under workout is my worst one every year. So that one was just kind of survive. It is what it is. And then the last one actually went better than I thought. I'm not phenomenal at legless rope climbs. And I thought I had a really good day for my ability or my capacity in that movement. That's just like a specialist type of workout. So I was happy.
And so I just want to let you know, we did not look at your worst movements. We're all about positivity here.
Okay, great.
So I want to ask you, with Lex competing at the same place, does that add stress to you, or do you just let her do her thing and you do yours?
We're very different athletes when we compete, and also like when we train, like we have different strengths and weaknesses, and the way that we approach workouts are very different. I love having her there. I watched like all of her heats. She watched all of my heats. It's nice just to have someone that you can talk to about things. If she would probably say that I would stress her out because I like to talk like strategies and stuff, and she just like doesn't want to talk about that with me in a competition setting anyways. I mean, I think we both have different personalities for what we can talk about in competition, which was it was the first time that we competed individual against each other. We've done a couple comps partner, which we love competing together. Competing individually, like we're there supporting each other always. But in terms of how we want to attack workouts or what we want to talk about prior to workouts, we're different.
Yeah, that creates a lot of layers there because you want your person to do really well, but also and it's anxious producing when you're watching somebody, you know, that you care about, and then also competing against. That's a lot of different layers right there to add on.
Yeah.
Does she have time to talk to you about the workout when she's done with her heat and before you go in your heat? Or do you have to kind of wait till you're back and everything's done?
No, she was able to talk to me. Like she would cool down and then she would tell me something. Maybe it was like, okay, they're being very strict on this standard here. Make sure that you like they were being very strict on the parallel handstand push-ups, and you had to be way off the wall with your butt and stuff. And a lot of people were just getting no reps. There was some inconsistency definitely within lanes of what was accepted and what was not. So it was just like, if you're in this lane, you know, watch out type of thing. Yeah. But you know, at that point, we already know what we're doing for strategies, although she was kind of helping me with numbers for lifting. She kind of coaches me too and just tells me, you know, she was like, okay, you should open at this because that's the bottleneck for this weight right now. You have to hit this number as your opener or whatever. So I got to have some input from her in that way.
Yeah, there was a very clear line between the top 5 and the rest of the field. Like you were there by 40 some points. And I know there have been freakish things happening this season where people were making huge comebacks, but that's a pretty comfortable lead to get into the games.
I never get comfortable. I was still, I knew that event was not great for me. And you never know with a legless rope climb, it takes one no rep and you're done for like, especially females, you're done for like at least almost a minute sometimes. And it could even be even more. I didn't think that my place was certain going into that final event at all. In 2018, I finished 6th place. And I thought I did enough to make it through. So I knew exactly that feeling, and that feeling kept coming back in my head. And I was like, oh my God, here it is again. Because the last few years I've qualified through an online system. I qualified 2019, 2020, 2021, all online. So this was the first time I got to actually qualify. 2020, I lost my spot after all the COVID things. But all 3 of them were emails sent to me. Congratulations. So I was really wanting to qualify in person for the first time. So I was happy about that, and to not have the same experience as my last time in person with the 6th place finish. So no, I definitely don't think that even if it's 40 points, like you saw, Will Morad had 80 something points that he came back from.
Yeah.
I still can't believe I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the girls that were behind me, I knew were good legless. Like you had, 2 girls that were good at legless rope climb. So I was just kind of just trying to run my race in that one and stay within reach. Yeah.
So you got your name announced over the loudspeaker that you are making it to the CrossFit Games. And that was your first time with experiencing that. So was there any emotion to that, or was it just old hat?
I think it's just like relief, like happiness, just kind of like, because I was very stressed that day because I knew that day was like my hold on to your place, like just do what you can. Yeah, I was just very happy. But like you talk about the top 5, having a point differential, but I always think it depends on the programming, and you can have a different program and you're going to have a different top 5. I believe that 100%. You're going to have a different top 10, top 20. There's some girls in the field that, they maybe weren't able to showcase some of their strengths because maybe some of the programming wasn't towards them. I've had programming that helped me in some of the comps that I've competed in. Programming matters. So, these are 6 events. I finished first last year at the Atlas Games, and it doesn't mean anything for the games. I think I was the worst finisher of the 5 girls that were at the Atlas Games last year. You have different events, different tests, which is interesting because we're always like, oh yeah, you tested this in the open, this in the quarters, but every stage the scorings counts, it starts back at 0. So it's not like it's that relevant, even though you tested those things prior. Like you start back at 0, you have 15 new tests, anything can happen. So it's just, yeah.
That brings up an interesting question that I know I want Amy to ask you.
Oh,
but before we get there, I want to ask you the question. So what Fantasy Fitnessing did is they took all of your movements and they put,
minus double unders.
If that movement was in a workout, they put it beside it where you finished. And there was one movement that stood out way above everything else. Do you know what it is?
Deadlift.
No.
Burpees.
Yep. So I will show you their thing. It'll just take me a second here.
That's right. Because the one year that deadlift, I didn't do as well because I think there was strict handstand push-ups the one year. But normally it would be deadlift and burpees.
So these are all of your competitions, and they have your average event finish and your event wins, your top 5s, your top 10s. How many events were in that thing? And then here, how you did on single modality, couplets, triplets, chippers in each event. And then here it is. Burpees, 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. And then in the quarterfinals, 34th. That's pretty impressive.
If there's a combo of deadlifts and burpees, that would be
bigger than.
I would say that looking through this, I don't think double unders is in here. I don't think they showed up enough since 2020, but you're pretty consistent across a lot of things. And it doesn't look like it's movement defined, because here's like GH sit-ups. They're pretty good. Handstand push-ups, those are all the same event. I think that got copied over a little bit. Rowing isn't that bad. Snatch, not so bad.
I think that's one thing for me is I like to be well-rounded. I do have some holes for sure, and I do have some home runs that I can hit with obviously the deadlifts, the burpees. If there was a sprint, like last year it was a 500 meter, but that's not a sprint to me. Like a sprint is a 100 meter, 40-yard dash. Like I have some home runs, I have some holes. I think we all do, minus maybe Tia.
Yeah. But it was cool kind of seeing how consistent you were, regardless of the movement, except for burpees. Burpees were.
You need those home runs though at the games, because it's not enough. Like it's almost not enough to just be average at anything at the games. You're just not getting many points. Like when you're let's say in a field of 40, you're always between 20 and 30. Like you're not getting that many points. You need that 1 or 2 top 10 events. So like that's why like last year I didn't get any that was like really my wheelhouse. And I think the year before I had a sprinting event and I had a couple of them that made me finish higher points wise. But yeah, you definitely need. I mean, I'll take a burpee deadlift event at the games.
Yeah, and our other co-host Kat is jumping on saying, "Are those stats dependent on what they were coupled with in a workout?" And they are.
Yeah,
they don't really show us what that was coupled with unless you know what the event name and what it actually was. They just kind of looked at it. If it had burpees in it, this is where you finished.
I do like burpees.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about thrusters? You like thrusters?
I like light thrusters, moderate thrusters, heavy thrusters, not as much. Like my upper body is not like I'm a lower body dominant athlete for sure. Like my favorite movements, deadlift, squat cleans, thrusters, pistols, box jumps, sprinting, burpees, like
I
those,
definitely,
and chest, like none of those, not many of those were at Atlas Games. So like I was waiting for the certain combo and I didn't get the combos that I needed to kind of hit a home run at the Atlas Games. So I was a little bit more consistent, I guess, like mostly like around the 5th place ish, 10th place.
And so that means you're hoping that they're saving all of those for the games.
Right. I hope so. But you know what? You go to the games and you think you're going to, I think Fikowski talked about this on, I'm not sure if it was the morning chalk up or something, but you know, you look at an event on paper and you're like, oh, I should do really well here, maybe top 5, top 10. And then, you know, in execution at the games, you're 27th, 25th. You're like, oh crap. Everyone's just so good at that level. It's like, it's just, you want to be, if you're all separated in different semifinals, you finish very high, but when everyone's put together, sometimes it's hard to know where you stack up, and everyone's so good.
So you mentioned about being a lower body athlete. Do you think that's consistent? I mean, to me, it would seem so, to be consistent with being a hockey player.
Hockey, soccer, taekwondo, all lower body.
Yeah.
All lower body stuff. I did do gymnastics when I was really young, all the way until 9 before I did like taekwondo. But I mean, I didn't learn how to do ring muscle ups at gymnastics, so like I had the body awareness from gymnastics, but in terms of like the Olympic lifts or the upper body pulling, pressing strength, was not comparable to how much lower body I did and accumulated throughout all my years of sports.
So you are headed back home to Madison, Wisconsin.
Yep.
And you've talked on previous episodes that your old coach supports you very much when you go back there for the games, and they give you use of the training facility.
Wow.
How cool is it that you get that opportunity as an alumni to be able to go back home and have that comfort during the games?
It's awesome. I love Madison, Wisconsin. It's kind of dead in the summer, so people don't actually know what the actual city is like when all the students are actually there. The football games are on, the tailgating, all stuff like that. Like it's pretty quiet in the summer, but just having access to that, you don't get that really anywhere. It's just a great university. They're supporting their alumni, and a lot of that, like some of the hockey players that I don't even play with, and like they're the newer players there, they came to watch last year. Some of them bought tickets to see like the outdoor events. Obviously, like the Coliseum tickets are so expensive. But yeah, just amazing having access to the facilities to recover and stuff like that, or even to train prior. It's great.
How do you feel about going head to head with one of your former opponents, Paige?
Ohio State.
Ohio State alumnus.
the Ohio State, as
That's
they like
correct.
to refer themselves. No, it's great. I like Paige. She's a great athlete. She had a phenomenal semifinal. There's a lot more than Paige, obviously, in the field. It's just great to see and compete against people that you know and follow over the years. I think I played 3 or 4 years against her. She's a great hockey player too.
Yeah, she actually said great things about your hockey prowess because we asked about that head-to-head, and she said, well, she was on a much better team and was a much better player than I was.
No, she I think she captained her team too, or maybe was assistant captain or captain. She was a hard worker. That's what I remembered the most of Paige. Hard worker on the ice, blocked a lot of shots, and just kind of was like under your skin. And I think that translates to what her strengths are in CrossFit. You just, give her a type of workout that's, like that suffer type of workout. And I think she does really well.
And just so you know, Amy is a graduate of the Ohio State as well.
It was just trademarked. I'm just
I almost went to the Ohio State. I visited there also.
Yeah.
It was my second pick. It was one of the closer ones to home for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted a Big Ten school.
Yeah.
Their hockey facility needs an update though.
100%. I don't deny that. So you mentioned about programming being a big deal, or, an important aspect. So what do you think about the programming for the last chance qualifier?
I think it's great. I looked at it today. I think there's, it's just going to be, it's simple programming. There's nothing super high skill. Like there's no legless rope climb. There's no ring muscle up. It's just kind of like who wants it more. It's pure CrossFit. There's definitely some strategy involved, like that rowing one. If you go too hard, and all of a sudden you can't handstand walk. You could, in a 2,000 meter row, you don't need to go and PR your 2K row. You can kind of sit back maybe even 10 seconds, and that's a significant difference in terms of how you're going to feel coming off the row to then handstand walk. I think it's good programming. I'm excited to see who comes out of that this weekend. It's this weekend, right?
Well, I guess it starts like
the
Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the strongest semifinal that you have, right? Like you have all the bubble athletes of each semifinal put together, hungry, wanting to get to the games, and only 4 workouts. Whew, there's a lot on the line. A lot on the line. A lot of great people that are going to be missing out on the games. And again, could have maybe made it through another semifinal, different programming or different field that they go against. I mean, it just happens that this is where they turn out. So it is a last chance qualifier. And this is something that we didn't have in our sport before. So I think it's a great addition to the sport to have this last chance and get people that were just on the edge in the region to have another shot at it. It's exciting.
Yeah. When I saw the programming, I will admit, 4 names popped into my head, 2 men, 2 women, based on the programming.
There's one woman that popped into my head right away. I think Sarah Sigmund's daughter should do very well with these. That is one of the 2 female names that popped into my head. I think another daughter should do well also. But I think Ariel Lowen. Yeah, I think Ariel Lowen will do well, especially she's a good rower, good handstand walker, good muscle ups. She should do well too. I just think that Sarah's so good at online workouts. And there's like what really has bothered her all year at Dubai, Wadapalooza, and her semifinal was a heavy clean and jerk for her knee. And the one clean and jerk event that's here, she's going to power clean it and jerk it. She's just so strong with the barbell with the moderate load. I think she'll smash some of these events, and she's able to put herself in a dark place that probably better than anyone online. Yeah, and I think with her height, the row and the wall balls. The wall ball. And then on the men's side, I think Royce Dunn and Matt DeLugos have great shots. I looked at Royce Dunn and I thought the same thing too for Royce. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Royce. Well, I'm glad that I'm thinking in the right direction anyway. I wasn't sure for Matt DeLugos for some of the other ones. I definitely thought of like more for the rowing, like Lex and I were talking about for the rowing for him. But I'm not sure where his handstand walk speed is. And I know he's good at it. I just don't know how fast he is. Yeah. I don't know him. I don't know him enough to know if that's a strength or if some of the maybe smaller guys can back off the row just to, like I said, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, but make it up literally in the close to minute and a half or whatever they'll have, maybe 2 minutes. I don't know how fast guys row 2K. Yeah, I bet you. I'm betting DeLugos can do that in 6 or under. Yeah. Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah. I mean, but he's 6'4", 6'5". Yeah. But so, Royce is a good rower too. Like he's got a lot of weight to pull. He's great. And with that Mayhem programming, handstand walks are always in that. Oh yeah. So that should be a home run for him. Yeah, he's a great guy. I competed with him before too. So definitely rooting for him. Yeah. Speaking of that, what kind of programming are you following? My programming. Okay, that's for CrossFit. Me and Lex, we program together. like our Metcons and our accessory and everything. And then we have Cal Strength that provides us our weightlifting program, which we've followed now for a couple of years. And then Rob Carson does our endurance work. So he also was the endurance coach for like Carrie Pierce, and he does the underdogs endurance stuff now. So yeah, between that endurance piece, the strength piece with Cal Strength, and then me and Lex's Minds for the rest of it.
Will you guys coach each other during some of your stuff, or is that not a good idea?
She'll coach me more than I'll coach her. I also have my coach, Paul McIntyre from CrossFit Coliseum. I've been with him for all 9 years I've done the Open. So he's supported me. He'll be going to the games also. Yeah, so I've always competed out of the same gym, CrossFit Coliseum, and I've kept the same coach. But I've just programmed for myself mostly over all the years. And then since having Lex here, we've kind of just been bumping ideas together, which has been less stress on my part just to kind of figure everything out.
Sure.
So it's just great to have someone else to bounce ideas with.
So when are you going to head to Madison?
Can decide that tomorrow. We're going to look at flights tomorrow. I'm actually heading to California with Lex and the Doodles on Thursday, right when school gets done on Wednesday. One last day to just kind of pack up everything here. We'll road trip to California. We have different stops. Like Lex is very good at like mapping out all the gyms that we're going on the way, which we did last year as well. So we'll stop at different CrossFit gyms. We'll get our regular training in within the weekend and train in California. And then I'll fly from California to Madison. So registration, I think, is the Sunday. I want to say it's the 31st. I don't feel the need to be there super early. If I can train in my own gym, like let's say in California while I'm there, the most like as much as possible, because when you get to Madison, you're kind of searching for places to train. It's just, you're out of your routine a little bit. So I don't need to get there too early. And I mean, it's expensive too, to be there. Like weeks ahead, like some people have the sponsorships to pay for them to be there for 2-3 weeks to acclimate, but I'm out of pocket, so I'm not going to be there for 2 weeks before or even a week before. So I might be there let's say the Saturday morning or something like that, and then get to Madison Saturday night and register, because you don't start until the Wednesday anyway, so that's plenty of time anyways.
Sure.
Yeah.
So most likely the Saturday at some point. Probably fly into Milwaukee.
So when you're doing this road trip and you're stopping at different gyms, and you have the Doodles, right? So you have all that going on. Do you drop into a class, or do you drop in and ask to like do an open gym?
So we'll do open gym. We'll do our own, we'll have track. So we'll stop like at different high schools. Like she'll map out different so that we can get our endurance, like our running in. She's already messaged some of the gyms. Like we're going to James Townsend, his gym at some point. He has open gym like all day. I think Lex said that he was open 24 hours. That's our first stop at a gym. I mean, that's going to be a great gym right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we will do open gym. We'll probably be there for a couple hours, get on the road for a few hours, go to a track, maybe run, interval stuff, or we'll just do a workout at the track. Sometimes the Doodles might be running with one of us. It is what it is. It's just a few days like that. And we're just trying to get to California as fast as possible too, so that we can get back into our routine. But we've already programmed things knowing that some of the gyms might not have all the equipment that we're used to. So like we've front loaded our week this week with some of the odd object things or more complicated programming stuff. And then on the weekend, we'll have a little bit more body weight or maybe some rock stuff or weight vests or lower skill stuff on the weekend, so that like any gym would probably have, the rower, the pull-up bar, and you're maybe not relying on having sandbags or yokes or sleds at some of these gyms on the road. So just kind of front loading our week with different things versus keeping it for the weekend. It's all
Yeah,
thought of.
Yeah, James probably has the hookup.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So are you recognized when you drop in at these gyms?
No.
Oh, no.
Most of the times they think Lex is the games athlete.
That's crazy.
I'll go to competitions sometimes locally, and like I think like look wise, I'm not as jacked as a lot of the CrossFit Games athletes. Like I look relative,
Well,
I look athletic. I look athletic, but I just like we go like I think even at the games last year, like a lot of the volunteers, because Lex was carrying like a bag or something of mine, and then they're like, "Oh, the athlete here," and I was like, "Oh, bye, Lex." Like I wasn't recognized.
Go ahead and go out and do this one for me.
Yeah.
You do this one, I'll do the next one, Lex. No, I would say most of the time Lex will look more like the games athletes, and a lot of times in gyms she'll beat me too. So it's like, oh, that's the games athlete. You just got whooped by her that workout. It's like, yeah, well, that happens.
Yeah.
That's what's great about having her with me, because she'll push me in a lot of workouts that I'm bad at. So I get really exposed with some of her strengths. Like she just didn't get some of the programming that could have maybe shined her strengths at Atlas Games, but she does beat me quite often in workouts. So it's just funny on the road when we're at gyms and she beats me by like a minute or two, and people are like, "Oh yeah, that's the games athlete," and they're like, "No, that one." It's like, oh.
So I take it Lex is going to get your coach's pass.
Paul's gonna get it. Paul's always gotten it in the past, and I won't that won't change this time around. Lex, we're still figuring out. It's just so expensive to fly from California right now. So I'm hoping that, like, she came last year. We were able to find another pass last year as well. So we were thankfully able to both beat like Paul and Lex. But regardless of whether she's inside or not, like inside the warm-up area, I'm communicating with her, and she's coaching me also. Like, she knows all my paces, she knows my strengths and weaknesses, because she's training with me every single day. She knows exactly what I would break things. So I'll be communicating with her prior to events. If she can test events, she will. So she's coaching me too. Do
you do any specific mindset work, like to kind of calm yourself or do anything like that before, heading into the corrals, or just in your general training?
No, not really. I used to do a lot of that in like martial arts and Taekwondo. And I think that just competing at a high level in different sports over the years, I've just kind of been able to be good with my emotions, like through good and bad times. Like whenever I have a bad workout, I need to vent. And Paul, my coach, understands that, and he'll just let me get it all out. And it's like, he's like, okay, once you're done with this, or once we're done this meal, it's done. And it's like, okay, next one. And you got to be good at that at the games, because, you got a lot of events and you just need to forget about the last one. Because there's more points on the line.
When you're on the floor, do you want to be in your own head, or do you want to hear your coach yelling?
I'll hear him yell because he has a loud voice. I like knowing where I am within I'm very aware of where I am positionally in a workout. Like, I am in my own lane, but I also know who I'm not chasing in a workout, who I need to kind of stay within reach in a workout, or just kind of because it's a numbers game. It's a points game. So it definitely plays a factor. Like, I think a lot of people are always say like, oh, they're in their lane, they don't watch anything. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, it's hard to be fully in your lane. Like, I have my strategies, but I will deter sometimes away from it, or sometimes I'll stick to it, but you're just kind of still aware of where you are in the race.
When people say blinders on, I always am so confused by that. We talked to Spencer Panchek yesterday, and he was showing the point where he beat 2 other guys by 0.5 of a second, and that was 15 points.
Yep.
Like, and if you don't know that and you're not fighting for those little points here and there, you're going to miss out on the games.
Yes, it's a huge difference. I think I talked to Pat many years ago, and he was saying the same thing. Like, it's a numbers game. It's like, who do you need to stay ahead of? How many? Like, it's, you start doing the math, and it's like, okay, well, why waste all your energy if you're way ahead when you just need to win that workout or just be ahead of this person? Like, just like, right? Sometimes you do, like, you'd have to sprint to the finish line because you don't know about the prior heats before you, or I mean. You definitely need to be aware. I think that, your coach can play a role in that and kind of letting you know certain things, certain numbers that people are hitting for lifts. Like, that was useful when, Lex was like, you need to hit this because this is the bottleneck right here. There's a lot of people. So you get 2 pounds above it, clear yourself from that. And it's like, okay, yeah. So that also comes into the coaching job as well.
So my last question for you is, it's Sunday after the games. You've lived in Madison before. Is there one place that you frequented when you were in college that you were going to hit before you leave?
As an athlete, as a hockey player back then, yes, I would probably go to the KK with my hockey team, which is the college club. I don't know how, or Wando's or Nitty Gritty, which was Power Hour or something like that. But I wouldn't say that I am much of a drinker anymore. I would probably grab some pizza at Ian's and some cheese curds somewhere, maybe at Nitty Gritty, and probably head to State Street where there's always a lot going on there.
I will take those notes down.
You definitely have to have cheese curds when you're there.
Cheese curds, brats. You can go to brats.
Yeah, and the cheese curds there are just different.
Oh, they're so
than
good.
Getting the Ohio version or
the ice cream. The ice cream too. There's some good ice cream there too.
So this is the secret I've learned from all CrossFit Games athletes, that the key to success post comp is pizza and ice cream. Everybody has said that.
It's not wrong.
I know.
And Amy is an ice cream addict.
So
So where should she go for ice cream?
I mean, there's a few places on State Street. Michael's Custards have some good ones. It's not on State Street. I'm blanking on the name. I know how to get there from Camp. I think it might be on Randall Street. I miss it. But Michael's Custards has some good ice cream there and some good desserts.
Yes.
Awesome.
Nice.
It's by the football stadium. It's just down the road a little bit from the football stadium.
Cool.
Right on.
Well, Carolyne, as always, it is so much fun getting to chat with you. We can't wait. We're going to be in Madison, so we'll be there rooting you on.
When do you guys arrive?
I think I made my hotel reservations 2 weeks after the games last year.
That's smart.
So I think I actually have to go on and cut it down because last year was a full week, and we probably won't get there till like Tuesday.
Okay.
Is my guess. I haven't even talked about it with the crew yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will probably just get there the day before.
Okay. Cool.
So we will see you there.
Yes, we'll see you guys there.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.